What's up, guys, and welcome back to Invariance.Poker podcast number 11. Well, BJ is joining us back from playing a little bit at the WSOP this past week. The Choctaw WSOP is still continuing. This is the main event weekend, but I think he's done with tournaments for now, so he's coming back to share some insights. Go ahead, BJ.
Hello, guys. Back again to vent. Right, this time I'm venting about the WSOP and the state of WSOP here in Oklahoma, and it's not what it used to be. The tournaments the juice is getting way higher than you used to. I've seen people putting in bullets. Look at the payout. The min cashes are terrible. Like, why are we stretching it to 15%? So I understand why you don't play tournaments. It's like you feel like you put in so many hours, and most of the time you're going to walk away with nothing. Even if you mid cash, let's just say all these $400 event, your mid cash is $600, and now you put in 11 hours of work to make 200. That's if you put in one bullet. So I completely understand and respect why a lot of cash players don't play tournament. So you really don't want to fire any bullets at this tournaments. Like this circuit event here is really meaningless to you, right?
It's a grind, like you said, and it's demoralizing when at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to a coin flip. So it doesn't matter how good you play or how well you play, you just got to run those coin flips. So did you really want to put all that work and all the time and then just go ahead and flip for it all? That just seemed like a lot of is inefficient use of time.
So to you, you're thinking about it as, sort of efficiency and how much money are you going to make? You're going to be making. To a lot of people that play it, they're thinking about first place money, right?
Yeah.
So how many times are you going to get there? You're going to win that ring and get first place money?
You probably not. Like unless I start dedicating tournaments, I probably won't ever get first. I have no plan of getting first place in my life. Okay.
So as a cash player, right? And this is one thing that these tournament players think, that they're getting rings and stuff like that. If you see someone sitting at each table got 2, 3, 5 rings, do you give them more respect, or how do you feel about that?
I used to, until I started hearing people having these rings and then I see that their first place cash was less than 10,000. So the value of these rings are just not there anymore.
So here, to me, as a cash player, if I see like a person, whether they want 5, 10 rings or whatever, sitting at the table, and they make a very bad play, that's all that sticks in my mind. I don't care about how many rings they want, but how they're playing at the game. So you could be like a tournament crusher. And speaking of rings and tournaments and stuff like that, so I did the math of it all. It costs about $7,200 if you play every event in the circuit, right? If you put in, let's just say half of them, you're going to put in more than one bullet, so it costs about $10,200 for, your circuit, one circuit. Okay. So if you play 10 of them, it used to be like 12 events, 12 rings. Now they added like way more events to where like you're really not going to walk away with any money. So you need like about 110,000 if you play 10 10 circuits. You need about 110,000 just to break even from your buy-ins. So you're telling me that these people that travel the circuit, which most of them don't, like you can see they disappeared or whatever. You telling me that there's a way to make money, especially when your expenses are about $100 a day, you're talking about like food and, hotel and all that. And is there a way to make money if you spend $110,000 in tournaments a year?
I don't know because, so then they say the calculation is a good tournament player, I think, makes about 25% of their buy-in with that rate of return on average. I don't know where that number came from. That's just off the top of my head. So they're playing this circuit. The entry is 100,000. That means they're expecting to make, if they're good, crushers, $26,000 out of this. Then we calculate how long it takes them to do this.
So 26,000, you could work at literally McDonald's and make more than that a year.
It sounds like it, right? Because to do a circuit is what, 2 weeks?
Yes.
So then for 10 circuits, we're talking about, let's just say 1.5 circuit per month. So we're talking about
No,
maybe
let's
7.
just say you're doing 10 a year, right?
Uh-huh.
You're doing one every 2 weeks and you're going home for 2 weeks,
Okay.
right? So you still, you know,
$26,000.
yeah, you're still not going to make money. And please, to those people that put in 2-3 bullets, why are you doing that? Literally, all you're doing is fattening their pockets. It's, you know, the rake is going up way too high. Let's not talk about the dealers. You should see like some of these dealers, man. They're fresh out of school. They don't know how to. I mean, they don't know how to run the game. Period. Right? That we had a dealer that's somebody put in 5K for small blind, and literally it took him 3 minutes out of the clock to figure out like how to make change out of small blind, right? Instead of just dealing the hand and then finding the change. So their dealers are getting terrible. They're shaming you into tipping. The min cash is like literally half buy-in. So how are you ever going to make it if you really try to play tournaments? So I don't understand that. I don't understand why people put in 2-3 bullets. Honestly, the way I was this $400 event, $250 event, I feel like it's positive EV just to max late registered event, go in with 10 big blinds and just chip it, right? If you want to flip, if you have that 30%, you're going to win it. At least you got to have a chance to min cash. And now you didn't put in that many hours, you know, to play this tournament, right? It's 250, 400. I understand main event, yes, you know, you're going to show up on time, put in the effort. $600 event, yes. But I've seen local players that play cash games that went put in 2-3 bullets at a $600 buy-in tournament, which first place used to be over 200K. Now it's 153K. So you could see like even with the same number of entries, you know, it used to be $360 tournament. Now it changed to $400 tournament. Now it's $600 tournament, and we could see like even the first place money is going down. So they're raking as much as first place money, right?
Yeah.
The min cash is 1.5 times your buy-in. So it's definitely not positive EV. There is no way you're going to make it. And you know what? You want to ring that bad? Go buy you one. I promise you in the long run, you're going to save money. Don't give it to them, because all you're doing, the dealers are not getting that money, right? It's going to the top of the chain, right? It's a corporation that are running the business the way they want it. And it's profitable, because here in Oklahoma, they still have the locals that go put in 2, 3, 4 bullets. And I see a lot of, I'm really disappointed on these cash players that go in and fire as many bullets. I made the mistake, you know, I made the mistake on that Congress where I was in for 3 bullets, and whatever made me do that is the last longer. Rebecca Thompson, you know, cost me a lot of money in this last longer. It was worth more than like third or fourth place money. The last longer was $7,400. That's how many people like re-enter these events.
Well, so what do you think the ratio of professional versus recreational in tournament play now?
So you don't see a lot of professionals because they know there's better circuit events. There's, you know, you could go play at the Venetian, you could go play at the Wynn, you could go to Florida where they're paying 11% and at least min cash is double your buy-in. So if you put in 2 bullets, at least you're breaking even or better. Now, how are you going to make it when min cash is 1.5 your buy-in? So their idea, I can tell you exactly what they're thinking, is to stretch. They're paying 15% of the field. They're giving you enough for your next tournament buy-in, right? Because it's 600. If the next tournament's 600, like now you got to buy into 600 so you can go and, you know, play the next tournament. So the money is just circulating, going back to them. So literally nobody's walking away with money, because even those first places, like you can tell now they're giving a ring for $10,000, $12,000 first place, or they're trying to pump them up now to where like they're putting in like so much money. And let's even discuss pay jumps. It's ridiculous, man. $400 tournament and $12 pay jump. Like how you go through 4 or 5 pay jumps, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's not even $100. How can you make it like close or final table and get 4 buy-ins back? How are you going to make it, like as a tournament player?
Doesn't sound too good of a chance.
But you know what? I'm really disappointed on these players they play with every day. And I'm not afraid to name names like Brian Harden, and there's a few others that go and fire 3-4 bullets. Like, what are you thinking? Literally giving them money. Like, you're smarter than that. I feel like a lot of these players are smarter than that, but they're not doing the math. What is it to them? You really think it's the ring that's worth it to them? Or you think, first place? Or you think the respect? I mean, what is it?
I don't know, but it seems like the concept is just basically like sports betting. Just give people bet as much as they can and flip the money back and forth. And as the money's getting flipped back and forth, juice is being taken out.
Yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
the longer that you let them flip back and forth, the more money you're gonna make.
I'm just like thinking about the player perspective, like really how. I mean,
My only
thinking, are they degenerates?
my first guess would be that they're seeing that the level of competition is that much inferior, where the juice is still worth it to them, or whatever the money that they pay and getting juiced.
I mean, that might be their idea or whatever, but I mean, I really don't think that you can ever make it, playing tournaments this way. Or even the 15% payout. Speaking of the 15%, so I'm hearing like even at these poker room in Dallas and stuff like that, they changed from the 10% to 12% payout. I know TCA just recently went from 10% to 12% payout, and I'm wondering like, why are they doing that?
Well,
what do you think they're?
Well, like you said, now if you extend the payout to pay more people, well, there's your next buy-in, so it keeps the flow going. Versus, let's just say if you take it to 5%, well, not that many people are gonna get paid, and that money is gonna go be spent on outside of the poker room. So by widening the payout range, you got more people buying right back in, like you said.
But it's kind of embarrassing to me that you're telling someone that you cashed when you're actually paying 2 bullets in a tournament. You're not even getting your 2 bullets back. It's embarrassing to me to even tell people to cash. Oh, you cashed? Oh, that's good. No, it's not good.
Well,
oh, you made day 2. Oh, it's good. Well, I barely get 2 buy-ins back. That's not good even making day 2. Like,
well, that kind of tells you that, like, we see poker is based on perception, and a lot of these are recreational, where the perception of winning is more important than the actual winnings.
Exactly. Right. So, I mean,
so as long as you throw them
we have to get over that, though. I mean, and definitely, I hope that this, Poker House and TCH go back to 10%, please, and leave the mint cash to be like at least 2 buy-ins to be worth it for some players. I mean, if I'm gonna grind all day, play like Saturday tournament, whatever, I want my, at least my mint cash to be like double the buy-in. I mean, if it's $250, not that much money. But at least to a lot of people, it's a little bit of return, right?
Unfortunately, you just exposed a system that if I was a tournament hoster, now I would rather expand the range of maybe even pay out 20%, so that now these people are like, they have that money, but it's not enough for them to celebrate or go eat or anything with, so they're just going to fire the next buy-in. So as an operator, I would not do what you want. I would expand the range in 20 to 25% and let them, even the min cash is less than the buy-in. I bet you those people will celebrate, and they're like, oh, well, I got half of my buy-in. Let me go and get some more and buy in.
See, this is why we need to pick and choose who are we supporting as poker players. We don't have to support like these people that just want, or these corporations that just want to juice it up, to like get enough juice to, and you know what? That's the bread and butter of these, tournaments like here at the Poker House or TCH or stuff like that. They make a lot of money out of these tournaments, right? Yeah. So they want to run in more tournaments than cash because, you can bust quicker,
Then what about this then? It's not the payout range that really matters, right? It's how much are they taking out of the tournament per juice. Because let's just say a poker room that only takes out 5%, but they're paying out a lot more. Well, they're actually keeping the game going a lot longer by not being so top heavy and paying out more people, so that now you have more people playing in the tournaments.
But that's the idea that we're going against. Like, you're thinking, as a business person, as these poker places, but I'm thinking as the poker player, what's bad for the economy? You're thinking about fattening their pockets, while I'm thinking about how we're going to keep more money in the poker economy and not sending it back up.
Well, I think every structure, like every game has a rake. So if a room has long-term vision, then they would rake less. Just like most of, like for example, WinStar, where they capped at 500 and they kept the players going longer, so the game stays longer. I think if a room that runs tournaments is willing to not take out too much juice from the tournaments per tournament, so that they could have players returning more, then it's better for the overall economy, because now these players are getting to play more. Whereas if they juice less and make it top heavy, these bottom players won't be able to play as much.
Well, exactly. Now, all these, sort of professionals that play tournaments or whatever, that's who you definitely taking away.
Yeah.
They cannot make it. They really cannot travel or even play locally and keep on making these tournaments, because at the end of the day, regardless of how good they are, they're still going to be losing money.
Couldn't we say that's actually better for the poker economy, if that the payout range is wider and it's not so top heavy, so that now you get more people, the payout is spread out to the weaker players, which will, in turn, that money will go back in, versus top heavy and pros, where they would take more of the money out.
So the weaker players, here's my idea. The weaker players are definitely, they have their own jobs or whatever, and they come in to play a tournament like once a week or once a month or whatever, and they're going back to their jobs. So to them, at least if the cash is double the buy-in or whatever, it's gonna make them feel a little bit, that they actually made money, versus you sending them back home would definitely, if they put in 2 bullets, right, and now they're not even breaking even. You're sending them back home and they feel like they're lost.
I don't know. Like perception shapes reality, and the fact that they think that they won, it doesn't matter how much they won. I think if you send them home with 25% of their buy-in, they'll feel a lot happier than you sent them home with nothing.
So where are we going to stop at? You would just want us to stretch the payout to 25% and give them their money back? Giving you your money back to cash, your money back?
I think for the long-term stake of tournaments, that it should be spread out better. Of course, the juice is all, the rake is all usually that matters. How much rake are they taking relative to other people? And if there's a fair amount, then it's just like raking the table. But I think long-term, if you spread out now to more people, it will keep the game and tournaments going longer, and the economy more sustainable.
So now you're definitely catering to the local players, the ones that are going to come up once a week to play tournaments and stuff like that. To me, if I'm going to go play a tournament, I'm really going to think about like, how much money am I going to make? Is it going to be worth it for me to travel or to play this tournament versus just going somewhere else and playing? Why am I not going to go support places that pay 11% of the field? The min cash is double the buy-in, and it's still top heavy anyway. So you know what? To me, if I'm gonna go play tournaments, I would rather not go to Choctaw and play, or or WinStar or whatever, and I'm gonna go support like these local rooms, like here in Austin or Houston, or like even TCH, was still like 11% or 12% of payout, and at least double the buy-in, or go play at the Wynn or Venetian, where the dealers on top of their games. Or Florida, where that it's actually worth it. So, now you're taking away the people that love to play tournaments, that want to do it, they compete, right? They're not professionals, but they like the competition, and they like to make money, right?
I actually don't see a problem for a room doing this, where they don't make the payout top heavy and they make it more spread out. Yeah, it would drive away these tournament pros, but what's the problem with that?
Well, the problem with that is like, you definitely taking away some of your, because remember again, these tournament pros are going to fire 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets, right? But I've seen one that fired 37 bullets in one tournament.
That's something but we're talking about something in a vacuum. Eliminating pros is good for the economy.
How?
Because if you have a poker tournament that's all just recreational, they're going to pass the money back and forth, and that money is going to eventually, slowly, of course, be drained to the business. But the pros, if you have pros in there, they'll take money. They're a net drain on the economy. So if you can limit how many pros there are, I would think it's better for the operator, the business itself.
Well, here's another issue with that. A lot of these recreationals, they would rather play with the pro. They would rather play with people that have seen on TV. That they will still call, they still like to be at table with people that they recognize people, right? So, and these pros are part of the poker economy. You cannot just take them away. They're still going to be there whether you like it or not. So,
Of course.
right.
But then what we're talking about is by whether to expand or contract the payout range and the effect. And I think based on what we're discussing so far, expanding the payout range will sustain the tournament economy longer by keeping that money in and keeping it in rotation versus if you contract it, the money goes out and leave quicker.
So now the way you're discussing it is like a pyramid scheme. Like literally, like that money is just going to stay there regardless of, nobody's walking away with money. But how is that good for the poker economy?
It's almost like a cash game, right? Would you rather have a game full of recreational players and that just pass the money around and eventually that money will be slowly taken out through the rake? Or would you rather have a few sharks in there and they're passing around, but that money is leaving the rake and as well as through the this portal of pros? So by eliminating one faucet of money leaving out, it's better for the economy as a whole.
Well, you would never take out the pros out of the games. They're always going to be there. They're always going to be this narcissists that think that they're better than everybody else at the table, that they want to, take as much money away from the table. And now let's get back to the subject. So we discussed, tournaments. So I feel like the tournament scene is going to die up here in Oklahoma. Eventually, sooner or later, it's going to die. If these poker rooms are going to stay open, it will die. So now let's bring up another subject. These pros are mostly like into staking, whether cash or tournaments. Yeah. So in tournaments is a little bit different, right? So you see like some of these tournament pros, they have a lot of cashes, like millions of dollars in cashes. And a lot of them are broke and a lot of them are not paying their debts. Let's say, you buy in 10% action from me, right? I go cash for 100K and, I'm not going to give you that 10,000 back. I'm going to give you all kinds of excuses about why I can't pay you right now. You're not going to hear from me. Now you're going to see them in the next tournament and you're still not going to get paid. A year, 2 year passes, you will never get paid, right? And you're still going to see them. So now this start happening in cash games too, where, people will come up to you and say, hey, put me in a game. Hey, I want to sell action. I want to play this big game and stuff like that. Now, how do you know you're going to get paid, first of all, before even this whole staking? So a lot of people are just doing it for the sweat. Yeah. So how would you know that you're going to get paid?
If we talk about the current state right now, it's all based on integrity. And unfortunately, poker is like the one place that lacks a lot of integrity. So you got to pick and choose your horse, and even then, you probably most of the time you're probably gonna be wrong.
So this is one thing we discussed before, because you wanted to start like a staking website or whatever, and I feel like it's a lot of headache. If you're doing it, I do trust you. We exchanged money like many times in the past and stuff like that. I know your integrity but your idea was like, hey, he's gonna be on live stream, right? So there is no way, we know exactly how much money he's gonna leave the table with. Well, he leaves with 10,000, 20,000. He doesn't have to pay you right away, right?
Nope.
Yeah. So he can take off, and you're gonna see him in the next game. What are you gonna do? Well, you're gonna be sitting right across from him, and there's really nothing much you can do. So
that's correct. I mean, it happened at TCH this last year where I let a friend borrow $10,000, and here he is sitting right across the table with me with like $5,000 stacks and wouldn't even pay me any money. And keeps saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna take care of you because I don't want to ruin our friendship." And I'm just sitting there nodding my head, "Yeah," because if you did, you would pass me some chips right now, and it's been over a few years already.
See, so. and now they make you feel like you're stupid, like you're not that smart, because you actually they took advantage of that. Part of you that were like, hey, I'm going to help out a friend or whatever, and now you're in that situation where now you're down money you know. And I'm sure that's not the only case that happened to you in the past.
And even December, somebody at TCH asked me just for like 2,000. He gambles 5,000-10,000, loses. He asked me for 2,000. I'm like, all right, you know, for a few days. Hasn't paid me back yet, and he hasn't showed up. And if I called him out, a lot of people will be surprised and know who he is. But I'm not gonna call anybody out. But since I've loaned that 2,000, I've just went right down where I have to dip into my second emergency bankroll now, because it's just like this feng shui has been lost.
And I feel like it happens a lot. Like this situation that you're saying, that people that you see somebody who's gambling like thousands of dollars at poker room or whatever, they're like, oh, can I get 2,000? They know you have money, right?
Yeah.
Because I know you keep the chips on your backpack most of the time when you're playing, because you don't want to go back and forth. So they know, because you know you pull out your chips and you have like 3, 4, 5,000 in chips in front of you. And I mean, in your backpack. So how do you tell them no? How do you say no? I'm like,
you can't. There's no excuses you can make up. The only thing you could do is, you know, I don't do this anymore. But then they're gonna like, hey, I'm, you know, your friend, trust me and everything, and then you keep saying I don't do this anymore. Like, no, I've been ripped off, and they go, no, you could trust me. I'm like,
exactly.
They give that, and
they're more persistent. They're so persistent, and this is like a problem with gamblers, right? They are so persistent. Like they want their fix. They want to get back in the game. They want to find a way to get back in the game. They will tell you, hey, I didn't bring enough money. My Zelle is not working. My Cash App is blocked. They will find all kind of excuses to tell you that.
Yeah. The only legitimate excuse that you could just shut this off is, you know, I don't loan money because it ruins friendship. Like I've said this and I heard this before, where you and I could trust you could trust me, but we can't trust the air between us. I could hand you money in between, the wind blows it away. So it's not you that I don't trust, it's the air between us I don't trust. And that's the part, the best excuse or the best answer you could provide to anybody that wants to borrow money from you at the poker room, because it never ends well. Like, it's just, if they have to borrow money, there's some situations that, unless they're like they're like top of the game, and even then you got to wonder, because where did they leak the money from?
Exactly. You know, and they might just disappear next day.
Yeah.
And this is something that they always tell you. Now, don't loan money that you're not willing to lose, right? Because most of the time that money is not going to come back, and that money, don't loan money that you still need like the next month or two, because you might not see that money for like 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
So this plays like a huge mental thing on the game, right? Mm-hmm. And it brings out the worst of people. So how long have you been playing poker, Tommy?
Let's see. I started online in 2010, 2009. Then Black Friday, that's when I went to live poker, and I started playing live poker on and off since 2011.
So what were you doing before that? Like
a lot of startups, Virtual World, Second Life, sports betting bots. I did some, retail vapor shops. Like, they all started well, but the most of them ended disastrously. But a lot of it, there were some that were out of my control, like the sports betting bot. You know, the government passed the Unlawful Internet Gambling Act, and then Black Friday. What can I do? Just
so mentally, it took like a lot of toll on you mentally, like, you know, to get through all these hurdles, and, you know, year in and year out, like you don't know what's tomorrow's gonna be. So if you go back to young Tommy and right now in 2009, would you still tell him to like do this for a living for the past 10, 15 years that you've been like grinding at the tables, dealing with people? Like,
I would, from the macro point of view, yes, I would say, because there's a lot of in poker that will, if you actually learn the game correctly, you will actually be a better person. You will actually develop a lot of life skills. For me personally, the only reason because I'm grinding at the poker table is because it's a means to an end. I discussed this with another guy the other day, that if you see me at the poker table, it's not because I'm doing well. It's because I just fucked up somewhere, or I just had some shitty issue that just happened. And like this current sitting, or this where you see me right now, is because I lost a lot of money developing a poker app. And you could know what I was in because we lost to Poker Bros. I'm the guy, you know, for every successful business, there's the guy that just failed, and Poker Bros is the one everybody hears about I'm the guy that nobody's gonna ever hear about.
See, but that's the thing, though. Poker is what gets you in this situation in the first place. You know, trying to develop an app for poker and all that. So poker is actually you're saying that it brings the best out of people. I completely disagree here. It brings the worst out of people, not the best.
Well, poker brings the true you out. So, but I said if you learn how to play poker correctly, you will develop skills that make you a better person.
Well,
unfortunately, for most people, poker is not a way to develop themselves. Poker is an escape, is a way to drown yourself in whatever real world that you can't face. And then not only that, but they lose themselves in poker because, like everybody say poker is a game of observation. But the one thing that poker players do not observe is themselves.
Well, like you saying, if you develop skills and you're really good. Well, you can go in stretches. Poker is the only profession in the world where you can actually do everything right and do everything correct, and you can go on a downswing for like 20, 25 days of downswing, right? You can do everything correctly, right, and
lose
still
money,
lose money,
and do everything incorrectly and make money.
So how do you do it in, day out? Like, how can you come back with this is the thing that you're doing over and over again, doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting different results?
Because then this develops two things. It develops self-honesty and it develops discernment. Because, like you said, you could make the mistakes and play bad and make money. You can't go and thinking that I'm a good player. If you do, you're being dishonest with yourself. You can't be result-oriented. You got to look at the process. Did I play the hand correctly and can go through with it? And most people are not honest with themselves. And so that's where poker shows it, where you're not dishonest with yourself. And then the second one was being able to discern, because discernment is a very tough skill to have, because it's basically making reads, and there's nobody can tell you right or wrong, and everything's relative. So it's really up to your integrity to be able to discern whether you played a hand well or not. And after a hand's done and you won chips, nobody's gonna go back and tell you, hey, you didn't play that correctly. Only you got to be honest with yourself and be able to see that you didn't play correctly.
So, again, there's like a lot of mental stuff that goes through it. Like, you're going to lose a lot of, nights worth of sleep thinking about hands and thinking about how you got outplayed in situations and how you got bluffed and showed the bluff when you're supposed to be calling there. And now you're going through a downswing and you start doing things that you're not usually doing, right? You're calling less. You feel like it's coming, like you're ahead. You have aces and you're all in, versus like this, player that put in like 200 big blind with like 7-8 suited, and you have a feeling even if you run it twice, you're gonna lose both hands, right? So you start developing that thing where now you're
wrong thinking or negative thinking.
Yes, exactly, like the negative thinking. And that could lead to a lot of mental issues. It could lead to depression. It could lead to like, isolation, where like now you don't want to go hang out with your friends because now you want to, get back at the table and win your money back. Now you don't want to go, you don't pick up phone calls from family members and they call you at the table. You put in 10, 11 hours at the table. Now you can get to that depression stage where you don't want to talk to anybody for days. You just want to be alone, right? So, I mean, I've been through that. I don't know, like some people might, but I feel like a lot of players, they could develop mental issues like after a while. Like we've seen it. People tell you, oh, I'm going to win this tournament. Oh, I'm going to win today in cash game. Oh, they say some stuff that they believe that is going to happen. But, they stuck into that delusional phase to where, oh, put me in that game. I'll make you money.
Well, then that's where I stress poker is don't let an opportunity go to waste. Like, these negative things started happening and you started going negative thinking and depression, all that. But if you cannot handle these things within a controlled environment inside a game, then you got no chance in life. And in life, the same thing's gonna happen. You're gonna make decisions, right decisions, and bad luck gonna happen. But if you're going to be depressed because you lost chips at a poker game, at a game that you know most of the time you should lose.
So a lot of people are gonna they don't lose what they can afford, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people that play with the rent money, we're seeing it day in and day out. A lot of people play with, the last dollar they save in his account. So don't tell me you're gonna come back tomorrow and you're gonna have a better mental attitude. So you do yoga, I know that, and a lot of poker players don't, right? So you're that 1% of people that actually try to take care of their health, the mental health, while they are playing. I've seen you where you lost some hands where you're not supposed to and you did not react, and which is good in a way, but I thought about it like after you left, I was like, so is he on the drive home, is he going to be thinking about the hand that he just lost? And like, I've seen him one time where he got like 3 outed on the river for like a 6K pot, and it was in PLO, and you just got up and you give this fake smile, and you walked away from the table. You didn't even say, most people would be upset. They would have reacted, oh my God, I can't believe, how did you call there or whatever. And I thought about it. I was like, is this something that you actually think about on the way home? That when you get home, how do you
I think about deeper, because these things happen all the time. Has happened. Like, you're gonna get 3 outed, you're gonna get 2 outed, you're gonna have bad luck in life, and shit just happen. But if you're be honest with yourself, like, these are stuff you can't control. And yeah, suffering sucks, but at the same time, suffering is an opportunity for us to get better and stronger, right? Okay, like, let's say I take that bad beat. What good is it for me to berate the player and yell and, oh, poor me, look at me, I'm so, give me some sympathy? There's no value in that.
But some people, that's their way of venting.
Well, that is, because you gotta because they haven't developed that discipline to harness that opportunity. Okay, I can't do anything. What can I actually do in this moment right now to use this opportunity to get better? And the best is that just to be honest with yourself. I did the best I could play. Okay, then yeah, I'm suffering. It sucks still, but where's the suffering is because my perception, right? Like, I've some injustice, but it's still gonna feel shitty. But anytime you're gonna feel a shitty situation and you're suffering, and you could just watch yourself, that suffering goes away a lot faster than if you give into it and you vent, and then you get carried away by it. Then the next time it happens, you're gonna get carried away again. But because all this time, going through these hands, being like, throughout the poker career, losing, every time I does that, I watch it, and I'm able to control myself better and hold myself in, not to express negative emotions and energy. And eventually, you're able to control yourself, and the longer you control yourself, the faster that this moment will go away.
But to most people, they cannot control the way they feel.
No,
like,
it's hard because the reason is because we're always in this state of waking sleep. We're not really awake. We're not conscious of what we're doing, and because of that, we become mechanical in that we react a certain way no matter what happens, even though we know not to. Right? If we know that when we're upset, we should not say anything, because not saying things would just feed into that anger. Whereas if we hold back and we could just, take deep breaths and everything, well, eventually that anger is going to subside, because these are emotions that just gets triggered because we're robots. It's just like a code. Somebody written a code that if you lose money, negative emotion is going to rise. Well, if you could look at this code, next time you recode yourself and that you could take a bad beat, don't let negative emotions arise. You recoded yourself. And then if you keep recoding yourself and getting rid of all these bad habits, eventually you develop good habits, like being able to hold yourself back from expressing negative emotions.
So, how do you start training yourself to do that? Most people, you have to have a professional that helps you doing that. Like, it's not possible.
The reason I trained myself was I got lucky. Every time I fell in the real world, it's really miserable. I'm talking about I'm going broke and either going dead, and where people don't like when I had the vapor failure, I lost my business. All my friends thought I failed. Nobody was going to loan me money. So I only had a few $1,000 cash, and I took it to WinStar, right? And then you're sitting there and you took a bad beat. it's naturally gonna like you just want to spew, but I had to hold it together because I had to take care of family. I had to take care of my daughter. Like I told myself, spewing right now is not gonna help any good. Just hold yourself together, and then put on a smile. Like somebody said, you could fake your smile, eventually you trick yourself. So at times you just gotta remember what's going on, and remember yourself, and put in the work. It's not gonna be easy. Just sometimes fake that smile a little bit at a time, and then you might hold it for 1 minute, and then you spew. But because throughout these failures, I was able to hold myself together stronger and stronger. And this is my third bout of playing poker to rebuild myself. So the other two bouts, it was really tough. Like I went through 1 year at WinStar where I couldn't get a bankroll past 5,000 or 10. If I get close to 10,000, something just happened where it just sucks right back down, because with a $5,000 bankroll, I had to take care of the family. My wife didn't work. I was paying for Montessori school for my daughter. So
that's definitely mentally challenging. Like if you associate yourself with money at the table, or like I just lost 500 or 1,000.
I just lost 1 month of my daughter's tuition.
Exactly. And to people that actually work, and they work 2 weeks, and they make like, let's say 1,200, 1,400, and they come sit down at 2-5 table, and they can literally lose it in 45 minutes. Like you can tell how that feels like 10 times worse. Like to you, at least you knew you were doing it for a living. You knew the risks you were taking, right? And with the smaller bankroll, I first of all, I don't know why you were even with like a 5,000 or 10,000 where you're playing 2-5 instead of like 1-2, where you're gonna be making like a lot of money. I don't understand why you would even sit at a 2-5 table versus like 1-2 or 1-3 at WinStar, where there were a lot of fish coming through, and you could have made more money.
That's what I did. I sat at WinStar 2-5. So I didn't
like
play
2-5.
Yeah.
But 5K bankroll.
Yeah.
You should have been sitting at a 1-2 bankroll or 1-3.
Because one, I believe in the process, right? I knew that with the 5K bankroll, I knew even though
that's 10 buy-ins. That's not a lot. You can literally lose that in 1 day.
Yeah. So then of course I developed a strategy to lower the variance, and that's where all these pros started calling me a nit, because I cannot take aggressive lines in certain spots because
You can't bluff it all off.
Correct. So I have to find better spots and take more plus EV lines and pass up the more like marginal spots. So you have to adjust your games to that. So I adjusted to that. But then I also it's opportunity cost, right? I know what my expected rate of return is at a 2-5, and I know what at a 1-2 is. And if I put in the hours at 1-2, I cannot earn what I need for that month. So I had to take a chance, and luckily with that 5,000, I never went broke in a year, and I was able to make close to 100,000 just from that 5,000.
So we're talking about the 2-5 WinStar. I promise
Correct.
you, at the Poker House 1-2, you will make a better return
Of course.
than WinStar 2-5.
But this was back in like it was back in like 2017. So these things were around. Of course, now it's around. Like this last bout, I didn't have to go to WinStar. Thank goodness I had a Texas Card House, so I was able, because of the games, I was able to rebuild a lot quicker. Where now I just make sure I don't screw up by locking up my equity into GameStop.
So yes, Speaking of GameStop, like the day when you spoke, we spoke about the whole investing and stuff like that. Like you could tell after hours it shot up like 33%. So they sold like a bunch of calls or whatever. They tried to pump it out for the calls. And that was like it's still kind of a great time. I feel like it's a great time to get in, especially at like there is a support at 126 or whatever. So you can still buy in GameStop at 126. So I still feel like now is the time, like for your listeners or whatever, if they're going to roll with you, like this will be like the greatest time to roll. I mean, especially this levels of the stock market, like literally I feel like it's bottoming for GameStop and AMC.
It is. If so, let's go back to that day that it shot up, right? Then you texted me that somebody at Choctaw said Tommy called
Called it.
correct.
He said he called it.
Then I told.
I didn't know what he was talking about. First of all, I have no idea what he was talking about.
But then I told you, like, hold off, because like this is not right. Like, this is an example of what's going on, just the pure manipulation of GameStop going on, because there's no news. What they said look at was the people thought the article, the Wall Street Journal article came out, which everybody
The
read.
fake article,
Yeah,
yeah.
they FOMO'd in. But
Yes.
if you look at the time of when the price shot up, the article was released a few minutes afterwards. So it was like this article was ready to create a cover story for why this shot up.
Exactly.
And that's why I told you, I was like, man, this is not a buy-in. This is some kind of a cover-up. And then, of course, the next week it shot down.
The next day, actually, it started coming
Yeah.
back right back down the next day, and in 2 days it lost all the gains that it
Yeah.
made in literally 35% in 2 hours after the market closed.
Correct.
And they're trying to push their I mean, there's a lot of stuff that these hedge funds are doing.
But
These hedge
here's was the backstory to that. Right before that day, like a day ago, there was a big video of some boards of the investment where they were talking about the January situation, and they're talking about call options, and they were talking about naked, and they pretty much it pretty much painted the picture. So what people expected is that now this video is going to start causing retail to FOMO in. So
the timing of the video too
Yeah.
was odd. I mean, we didn't see it, like it was out for like a year and a half or something like that, and all of a sudden the video just popped up now.
right, of that one old man talking.
Yes.
Right, yeah. So then what happened, people thought was, okay, retail is about to FOMO in through options.
So explain to people what FOMO, because a lot of people don't know.
Fear of missing out. So
Right.
it's always when you see something and you're like, oh man, it's going to go up. So you start fearing that you're missing out. So you buy in. And then, so what
A
happened?
lot of investors buy in at the top. Like
Yeah.
you could even tell it in crypto.
Like
and
even
stuff like
GameStop
that.
right now, I tell everybody they're not going to buy in. But once it starts shooting 300, they're going to start buying in. Then because the people operate with hindsight. They don't look at foresight. Their perception, their vision is not there, and they just want to follow.
Well-
and that's where the comfort zone is.
You have to understand too that a lot of people start talking about that stuff when it hits all-time
Yeah.
highs and stuff like that. So it start,
Yeah.
news start talking about it. You start hearing it at the poker tables, and people ask you about like what's going on with GameStop. But when it's tanking, or
They're like, yeah, they're like, oh man, they was all wrong. They
yeah,
start
they
bumming
look
out.
they look
So-
at you like, oh my God, you made the worst investment ever.
Yeah, so if you're that kind of investor, then you gotta be honest with yourself that you're a fish, that you can't read the board, and you're just making the same plays as everybody else making, thinking that's the best play.
It's the same psychology we're talking about it when you lose like $20,000 at the poker table and your bankroll is 40, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, psychologically it does affect you, but you have to train yourself to know that, hey, listen, I did not lose anything. This is the difference between poker and investing, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're investing and your stock or your crypto, whatever, goes down, you did not really lose anything,
Yeah.
right? You don't lose till you sell. So, but in poker, it's a little bit different because now you lost a part of your bankroll. In stocks, yeah, you're down 20,000, 40,000 or whatever. You're investing 200K and you're down 40,000. It really, it shouldn't affect you mentally because you haven't sold yet.
It shouldn't, but we know a lot of things that shouldn't affect us because it goes back to the thing, perception. They're perceived losses. It's not
See,
real losses.
That's why these institutions are paying these top psychologists of the country, they're paying them millions of dollars to come up with these articles to make you do what they want you to do.
Of
So,
course. Because in general, we're all here. We're all just advanced mechanical robots, and they know how to trigger us for certain emotions to arise. And if certain emotions arise, we're gonna do certain things.
Exactly.
Like the fear of missing out is the one of the triggers. Okay, trigger the fear of missing out. What are people gonna do? They're gonna start buying in at illogical prices.
or you see these shills too at comment section, either on YouTube or Reddit or Weibo comment section or whatever, and you read these comments and you feel like they try to bring you down to where they want you to sell, right? That like, oh, you're about to lose it. Oh, I'm about to lose all my money. Oh, I already lost like 60-70%. So I don't care about losing the other 30%. But to you, they're making you think like, oh my God, he lost 70% of his investment. And he doesn't care now about losing 30%. Why do I want to lose that 30%? Why do I just not want to sell and keep that, that 30% invested in something else? Versus, so they psychologically like put you to the test to where, they if you're not well informed, or like we were discussing last time, we couldn't finish up the last podcast, but you were saying Reddit is your go to. There is actually a lot of YouTubers, a lot of very, very good YouTubers, and you can get with Tommy, or you can ask the comment section or whatever, and we're gonna, we will send you a few that actually can inform you about what's going on in the state with the market right now, or crypto right now. And that's a good way to learn, right? Versus, just listening to CNBC, or listening to Jim Cramer, or listening to people who they work for either institutions or hedge funds, or they are getting paid. We don't know how much, allegedly they're getting paid under the table to pump a few stocks or whatever.
See, the problem now is that everything's so advanced where like they could plant a shield there for like months, and they'll do everything and you buy into them, and then next thing you know, they flip the switch. And it's very hard these days to tell the difference. And this is where the idea of discernment, like, we all have to be able to discern information for ourselves, because we all research different things and we read different things. And if we cannot have discernment at the poker table in a controlled environment, then there's no way we can expect ourselves to have that level of discernment in real life. So then that's where we can say you got to be honest with yourself. Where's your level of discernment at? And the poker table is always a litmus test for everything. If you don't got it there, you don't have it in real life. And okay, well then if you don't have it in real life, then be honest with yourself and then say, I don't know shit. And then follow somebody that you trust. Go from there.
Never claim that you know anything about stuff that's above your pay grade. Like, we sit at the poker table and you hear like discussions all the time. We're talking about like crypto, about investing, about like stuff. And people
go even simpler. Sports. How many people act like they know sports?
All bet on this game. Poker table all the time.
They all like they know what they're doing. They spit out the same thing as ESPN.
Right. And they tell you, oh my God, it's guaranteed, man. That's a guaranteed lock. They tell you that all the time at the poker table. It's like they know.
They don't. That's where like, and then you point out to them, but they cannot even see that they're lying to themselves.
Right.
And then that's where the chief problem of everybody is that we're delusional, and we delude ourselves into thinking that we're not delusional.
Exactly. And especially that we know about everything. Like you can see. Like talks I hate at the poker table. And please don't be that guy. Don't bring up religion. Don't bring up politics. Don't bring up vaccination, because I hear these issues like a lot at poker table. And here's the thing: like, you might have a discussion, or you might see eye to eye with someone at the table, right? And the other people that are quiet, they might not agree with you. So why are you forcing or pushing your agenda to the other people that are quiet, that they want none of your conversation, but you're still pushing it. You're still talking about like how you read this or you read that, or how about you're sitting at your toilet for 10 minutes Googling stuff and reading Facebook comments, and all of a sudden like you're a doctor, you're a scientist or whatever, like you're trying to push your narratives, to the other people at the table. So a lot of people, they don't agree with you, but they're not saying anything. So I don't understand, like, why do specifically poker players, they feel like they know about everything?
Because we are mechanical robots that have no control over ourselves. And one of the chief things that we like to do is express ourselves.
And this is one thing that's even worse. Whenever someone is sitting at the poker table and talking about something that they're wrong about, and they keep on just going over it, over and over it, Are you that guy that says, "Hey, man, you're full of it," or are you the guy that is just like, "Oh my God, I just hope he's just gonna stop like misinforming everybody about like all this stuff"?
No, because people can't see that they're wrong. Like, just like people cannot see they're asleep, no matter how you appeal to them. You could appeal to them reasonably, you could try to be emotional, or you could even try to shame them, but it's not going to work. Like, until people there's a realization, until that realization happen, people are just going to continue to be asleep and continue to be mechanical robots.
And so you definitely, you're the guy that just like pass on the conversation. Like if someone's sitting at the poker table and say, "Oh my God, you know, that stupid guy like bought GME. Oh my God," and like the company is like, you know, dying and stuff like that. You don't even jump in and say, "Hey man, what are you talking about?"
Of course, I get triggered into jumping in, but then I look at myself, and then if I get triggered and jump in, I'm no different than them. I'm just okay. Even if I'm right or something, I still part of my idea is still based on my own personal belief, my own personal opinion, which at the end of the day most likely has no value or less value. But if I'm gonna expunge my knowledge upon them, well, yeah, I could be correct, but I could be wrong too, and then I end up being a hypocrite.
So yes, I mean. There is these type of people that play with poker, but there's other people that might be sitting at the table. It might be doctors, there might be lawyers, there might be judges that we play with all the time. And I was in a situation where in Choctaw, I was sitting like next to a judge or whatever. And, you know, these are the people that you want to, you know, get in conversations with, that you want to actually pick their brains and see, or you would be sitting next to a doctor, and these are the people that are quietest at the table. They don't talk much, they reserve to themselves, they don't. How do you like start conversation with you know, someone that you know that you want to pick their brains?
Like, anybody that's more quiet, on the quiet side, and offer information only when asked, those are the ones that I conversate with. The ones that offer knowledge, information when is not asked for, I classify them as the intellectuals. Like, there's this is a very subtle meaning, but there's a difference between being an intellectual and an intelligent person. An intellectual knows all kinds of shit. He'll do whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to know. He'll know everything. He'll tell you whatever you want. But then he doesn't even know anything about himself. He can't even control himself. He can't be quiet. He has no intelligence at all. He's like, right? Intelligence means being able to know yourself and recognize things and being able to put things in perspective. These guys are like encyclopedias that just ramble on. Whereas,
and that's the thing, though, they don't even hear if you have like a different side of you, or you have a different opinion. They're not even going to listen to you.
No,
right? They want to tell you all about their opinions about what they think or they know. But if you have a different idea or opinion,
no,
you know,
because why? Because their success has validated themselves. Where if they were even honest, they would look back and say, a lot of times we're successful there's something within us, but a lot of it is because of stuff that weren't within our control. Where we were born, the friends that we met, our parents, and just situations that just, you didn't get hit by this car accident, so you're not paralyzed. Well, lucky you, the other guy did. But we can't perceive that far. So then we think, we credit ourselves with all this stuff, where we don't realize that most of the stuff that happened to us is by chance and by luck and by the laws of karma. The laws of cause and effect. One thing leads to another, and we just got led into a really good spot.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Most people have that thought process that they know about things, that they are right, most of the time. And this is something that we train ourselves to do, right?
Yeah, and success breeds ego, and so that's where that's why that quote in the Bible is it's harder for a rich man to get to heaven than a camel to squeeze through the eye of a needle. I think I probably butchered that, but you get the concept. It's because the more successful and richer and wealthier you are, it deludes you into thinking that you did it. So it creates you a superior complex. And not only that, But the opposite is the failure is very important in developing us as a human being, because failure puts a lot of things into context. Failure causes suffering, and this suffering, mental suffering, while we think nobody likes suffering, suffering is good for us. I mean, suffering, you cannot have happiness without suffering. It's like you cannot have a left hand without a right hand, because like right nose, I don't have a left nose and a right nose.
Right.
In order for to have a left hand, there has to be context, a right hand. So suffering is necessary, and it wakens us up, and it's to put us into a place. And people who don't suffer enough aren't able to develop themselves.
So there's two people that suffer though. There's the people that actually are suffering, and they look at it from the positive way, that they are like, I can learn from this and move on. And there's the people that always play the victim. They're suffering, but they play the victim of the environment, the victim of their community or whatever. They're suffering because they're the victim, right? So another point you were discussing about the rich, and this is somebody that told me this a long time ago. They say the rich people always, they're fearful of losing their money. They're always finding ways to protect their money. While the poor people are the ones that are always thinking about how they're going to spend their money. So, you can see even the ideology of people, like one, that is just like fearful about how they're going to lose their money. And the other one is just like,
everybody suffers.
Right.
We cannot escape suffering. But the difference in the people is, how do we handle these suffering? Do we become mechanical and react in the same way that everybody else do, or do we actually take this moment that something just whacked us in the head? Hey, wake up and watch what's going on. And the ones that could, every time they get that whack in the head, they don't look around and start wanting to fight, but they look in like, hey, what's going on? Those are the ones that actually will eventually develop more mental toughness. And that's where failure and suffering, we could say, is good.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you guys got something from this. I mean, we need to wrap this up. I mean, I appreciate like everybody who's listening. There's a lot of other issues that we haven't discussed yet, and hopefully I'm going to be back again so we can finish this conversation, especially about the investing part. Some of us are like at the poker table every day, and I've been hearing this every day, like how they are that we think investing money is good versus like saving it, and all this inflation stuff and all this stuff that we haven't even discussed like a last episode. So I'll let you wrap this up.
Or there's one other thing we could talk about is sports betting, because sports betting is a big thing, but people don't realize how bad they are. But there's a few tricks, because I used to write sports betting bots. There's a few tricks that you could do to actually make you a winning player. But this is also a test of yourself, and a litmus test for yourself. If we were to give you these tips and to be a winner, and you can't be a winner, then it's on you.
Okay, so definitely this is one thing I want to discuss with you, because there's a lot of these bots now, but they're not like winning bots. Like you just have to remember this, that we see like a lot of evil sports betting bots, and I will bring you examples like next time, how they're not really winning bots. So don't think just because it's a bot and they know everything that they're going to be winning. So this is the perception. So
look at the process.
Right.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Peace out, guys.
All right. Later.